who will be performing Malaysia Truly Asia. Malaysia Truly Asia captures and defines the essence of the country's unique diversity. It sums up the distinctiveness and allure of Malaysia that make it an exceptional tourist destination. There is only one place where all the colors, flavors, sounds, and sights of Asia come together, Malaysia. No other country has Asia's three major races, Malay, Chinese, Indian, plus various other ethnic groups in large numbers. Nowhere is there such exciting diversity of cultures, festivals, traditions, and customs, offering myriad experiences. No other country is truly Asia as Malaysia. Please welcome the Nusantara Dance Troupe.
Malaysia, truly Asia. Malaysia.
Kecil-kecil di mana ibu sudah besar rindu-rinduan. Kalaulah hidup olah tak tentu, orang lalai benci-bencian.
Cabut-cabut bertari hambat, sudah rambai bertari burung. Orang kita bukan cari rambat, ayolah kasih kemari dulu.
Kita sudah asyik bermain, bila disuruh bara ditambah, jangan dimain, berbakar tangan. Kita sudah asyik bermain, bila disuruh bara ditambah, jangan dimain, berbakar tangan.
Right. I think that was a good way of getting everybody into the room. What's happening in that big ballroom? So thank you very much to the Nusantara dance troupe for that wonderful performance, showing all the parts of Malaysia. I must try and visit some part of the country at some point rather than just coming to KL area. I'll stay here, I won't go up on the stage. The Malaysia Convention and Exhibition Bureau are supporting this event, and we are truly grateful that they are supporting us. The Asia Pacific Regional Internet Conference on Operational Technologies is strongly supported by Malaysia Convention and Exhibition Bureau, MICEB, an agency under the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. So we're delighted that we're able to support this event, and well, we appreciate that. It's good to have support of MICEB for being here. Reason I'm kind of pausing is looking around for Raf, but I don't know if I see Raf. So to do all the introductions and welcomes, so I'm going to have to do it for him. So my name is Philip Smith. I'm your MC, but I'm also Executive Director for APNIC Limited. Asia Pacific Network Operators Group is the organizer of this event. And so on behalf of APNIC and the APNIC board, I'd like to invite you to Apricot 2025. This has been kind of an interesting one. As many of you know, we were due to hold Apricot 2025 in Dhaka, Bangladesh. But due to the very unfortunate situation that had in Bangladesh July, August last year, the board made the decision, in light of preparations and travel advisories and so forth, to move the event to here in Malaysia. So the Apricot team had, well, quite a lot of work to do in a rather short time to bring the event back to Malaysia. Malaysia is our default location. If we have any event a venue that is we're going to have issues with, as we've had in the past, we come back to Malaysia to host Apricot. I know it's extremely disappointing for the ISP Association of Bangladesh and the Bangladesh community. We are equally disappointed that we're not able to come either. But the board is quite clear, we do need a good 6 months planning horizon to pull off an event like this. So we do hope that we'll be able to come back to Bangladesh in future. So it's just, as the cycle goes around with hosting apricots, hopefully in the future we can be able to come to Dhaka as we had intended this year. Otherwise, we've had a huge amount of registrations. We had to find this venue in a hurry. We know it is probably not as huge as some of the previous venues that we've had for Apricot. So please bear with us with the volume of people here, with lunches and breaks and so forth. We do ask for your patience as work with the team to make this event a success. So hope you enjoy the week, the next 3-4 days. Hope you had good trips here and look forward to some really good networking and the conference agenda for this week. Next up, I would like to invite Kenny Huang, Chair of the APNIC EC, to do a welcome on behalf of APNIC. Kenny.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kenny Huang, Chair of APNIC Executive Council. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Apricot 2025 versus APNIC 59th. It's always great to see so many people from the internet community to come together. I'd like to take this moment to say to acknowledge a lot of distinguished friends here. Warm welcome to Curtis Lindqvist, President and CEO of ICANN. Okay. And also like to welcome the Kanagara Krishna, the chair of the MINOC and also APNIC board member. And the last one, I'd like to especially recognize Dr. Philip Smith, Executive Director of the APNIC, for your great work in supporting our community. I think this year is special because it is the 30th APRICA meeting here. And it shows our commitment from our community to dedicate in this event. And it also shows how we continue to share and learn from each other. I think that's very critical. As Philip just mentioned, we are very sorry because we couldn't be in Dhaka as planned. We miss being there with our colleague in Dhaka. And hopefully public can be arranged in the future. I think it's great to have all the people coming together in the APRICA event, and it is very critical because when we get in together, we discuss a lot of technology issue, operation issue, and also especially important for APNIC, we conduct a policy discussion among the member and try to engage all the member participants in that kind of discussion. I think that's very critical for us. And finally, I think that's important to us to meet each other, whether you are old friend or new friend and newcomer. I encourage you dialogue to each other and to discuss and something happening inside the Asia-Pacific region, and in terms of how to expand our infrastructure, how to improve our infrastructure together, and thus strengthen the effort, collective effort to improve the infrastructure in Asia-Pacific region. Okay, finally, thank you for coming to the APRICA 2025. I believe it's going to be a very successful event here. And so I believe in the future that will be going to be a productive and fruitful discussion in this week. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Kenny. I'll stay here. So next up, I'd like to invite our first keynote speaker, long-term friend of Apricot, good friend of mine, Curtis Lindqvist. He somehow ended up as ICANN president and CEO. Anyway, so he's now very, very important rather than just important. So I'd like to invite Curtis to the stage to give his keynote.
I'm lacking a clicker, but hopefully that will materialize. So thank you, Philip, and thank you, Apricot, for inviting me back to. Thank you. To speak. What Philip didn't say was that when the announcement was made last May that I had been selected as the next president CEO, one of the first emails I got was from Philip inviting me to be the keynote speaker here at the 30-year anniversary of Apricot. And it does help to get in early in the queue, to be honest. So I turned around and asked Philip, what do you want me to speak about? It's the 30-year anniversary of Apricot. And Philip said, well, why don't you talk about you and your career and what you have done in Apricot? And Philip said, I'm a friend of Apricot. I'm not just a friend, I'm a fan of Apricot. I do think this is a phenomenal community. I have worked in many other communities. I mean, I'm European, and I'll come to that, and I grew up with the right. But I do think Apricot is a bit special just by the pure size. Look at the room and the engagement. And also because I've made many friends in this region throughout the years. So I thought I'll do a presentation about my career and how I grew up, I mean, am I grown up? With the internet and the NOG community, and what I think that has meant to me and what I have done in this group. And hopefully that can inspire some, and Philip yesterday said that it can show that you can start in a network community and you become president and CEO of ICANN. I don't know if that's a success story or not. I'll let that's your decision. But there you go. So I'm Finnish. I'm a Swedish-speaking Finn, a very small minority. And I'm from this archipelago, the group of islands off the coast of Finland next to Sweden. Now, this probably means nothing to most of you. So I put this in a bigger perspective. It's just there, where the little red dot is. It's 6,500 islands and 30,000 people. That's where I grew up. Now, if you grew up there in the, as I do, discovering computers in the late 80s, early 90s, this isn't the center of the universe, right? This is not Silicon Valley. Far from it. And if we put this in a bit perspective that people can understand, this is how it looks like today in sea cables. That's the islands in the middle, right? It's not the most connected place. But for some reason, I don't actually know, I can't remember, when I was around 7, my parents gave me a computer, and I thought this was a fascinating tool. You could play games on it, which was kind of cool, but you could also do this writing programs, and I thought that was a bit interesting, and you could make it do things, and I thought that was also quite fascinating. And one thing led to the next, and eventually I ended up studying computer science. And I always struggle when you make presentations about this because I actually never graduated. I never completed my master thesis because I discovered, so this was in the mid-90s, right, early 90s even, and I discovered that you could have at least more fun, maybe make more money by doing startups than studying. Now, children, that is not an encouragement in any way. It's an observation, right? And I always find it a bit hard to talk about. You should study, get your degrees, they are important too. And we did some startups, and most of this was software related. And we discovered the internet, me and a friend, we wrote one of the first, we have a local gambling monopoly, and we wrote one of the first online websites where you could gamble online and win money in real time. Now, we had to decide, because this is at the same time that Europe started building internet, you know, we had the first dial-up modem pools and all this. And me and my friend decided that there wasn't really much money to be made in online gambling. The future was really in providing access. Why on earth would anyone gamble online when you could go to a real casino? Yeah, don't ask me for investment advice. But we did this, and it was quite successful. We did a lot of really cool software on the internet, and through this, I ended up going to the very first Netscape 1 developer conference in San Francisco. Now, how many people in here actually even know what Netscape is, or rather was? Okay, more than I thought. Not that many. Netscape was the first website, web browser, first commercial, essentially, web server browser platform. And they organized this developer conference. Not only was this the first time I went to the US, it was also the first time I went to one of these big communities. And it was phenomenal. You met all these people who you read about in papers and online, and they were there in real person, and they talked to you. It was quite shocking, actually. You know, this guy from those small islands get to meet people who had made all this phenomenal software and who had created this thing. And this was, I mean, it was a little bit hard to take in, I have to say, but it was phenomenal. I saw so many things. I saw the first demo of JavaScript. Maybe not so cool anymore, but it was pretty cool back then. And it was phenomenal. And I found an article from LA Times about this very first Netscape developer meeting, and they say in the clip, I don't know if you can read it, that, where was it? The Netscape Nation, the first software developers conference, put on the internet a phenomenal Netscape communications. 3,000 people were expected to attend. It was quite big by that time, and it was a phenomenal event. And this really made me interested that, you know, you can actually learn from other people in person, and these people are quite friendly. You know, they do actually share some things with you. So as I said, we started out we gave up on the software because the future was in connectivity and delivering internet. That's really where we thought this was going. So I started learning about networking and networking technologies, but by far not very, you know, phenomenally good at this, but I knew a little bit. And in 1997, me and my friend was asked to join EUnet and establish EUnet Sweden. EUnet was one of the first commercial internet providers in Europe, if not the first, depending on how you count. EUnet came out of the Unix user group in Europe and traces its roots back to the very early 90s, 1990, 1991. So all these other operating companies around Europe were really the pioneers, the people who brought internet to Europe. And then it was me. I got asked to get with my commercial friend to build up this company in Sweden. And I had some networking knowledge, enough to start getting this going and made some plan for it. But there was a whole lot of things about networking and BGP and other things that I didn't know very much about. Actually, most people didn't know much about it. And that was probably playing to my advantage. But these people were very much the people who had invented this, who had done this, right? And I was extremely fortunate to be allowed to work with these people and learn from them. And they really embraced this and, and helped me and taught me without any form of barriers or thinking that this young guy, why doesn't he know more about this? Because quite honestly, not many people did know more. Right? There wasn't that much knowledge to be had. And this was really a truly fantastic time. And in 1997, when we started this, I also attended my first RIPE training. I got to learn what an LIR was. I was trained by two people, John Crane and Miriam Kuhne. Miriam is today the RIPE chair, and John Crane is the CTO of ICANN and works for me. There's a bit of a closed loop there. And they were my first trainers, and they were the first ones to train me into this. And in 1998, RIPE came to Stockholm. Because of the training, I had a little bit of an idea what RIPE was. So I decided to go and attend. It was in my hometown. It was like a block away from the office, so, why not? And little did I know what was going to happen when I had gone to this meeting, right? And I'm going to come back to it in a second, but before this, EUNET organized a phenomenal thing that I think it was twice a year. They organized this technical event where all the technical directors of EUNET were brought to the Netherlands, where headquarters was in Amsterdam. And we had a 2-day discussion about technology, problems, ideas that we had seen. And these were literally the people who brought the internet to Europe. And many of them actually developed the internet to what it was then, and the standards and everything. And then it was me. And they really challenged me to ask questions and to learn, and they helped me. We wrote software. And it was a phenomenal way to understand that these networking groups and these networking people, they're really collaborative. We have a common problem to solve. It doesn't matter that you're new in this. And I was by far the youngest and the newest in this group. And that was never visible or never showed, and they really helped me and worked with me. So I took this with me when I went to that first RIPE meeting in Stockholm. And I discovered this much wider group outside the company who were also very collaborative, friendly, engaging, and you could have bar discussions with them. And one of the interesting things is that some of the people I met for the first time in 1998 are still some of my closest friends, right? And I think that shows a little bit how this community is very strong and very close. And people often say other industries are the same. I don't know, maybe they are, but I think we are quite unique in, especially that we have come from this group where people really had to evolve this ecosystem technologies together. And that was a very strong, lasting thing that I think still goes on today and that we try to pass on. And I think those of us who have been around, well, Philip's been around even longer than me, but Philip and me and others who've been around this long, that we actually should pass this on. Not just the skills, but the spirit and the cooperation of helping each other and actually really trying to bring people into this. Because it is really what makes this industry unique. Eventually, I got gradually more and more engaged with the RIPE community. I got to know even more people. I made friends. I had opinions, and that always helps. And that went on, and I kept being engaged from 1998 in the RIPE community. I attended many RIPE meetings and talked and made presentations. EUNET became KPN Quest, and well, it became Quest and then KPN Quest, and we were on the fast track in the .com era. And I attended my first IETF meeting. And if I had been fascinated by the RIPE meeting, the IETF meeting was something else, right? The RIPE meeting was 200 people, the IETF was 2,000. My first IETF meeting was San Diego in 2000, and I think for a very, very long time it was the largest IETF meeting ever organized. I think we had 2,500 people. And if those of you who have been to the San Diego hotel where this used, you can't fit 2,500 people in there, which was a little bit of an issue, but that's a different story. And this was really completely eye-opening. Much more, to me, it was much more like going to the first Netscape developer conference. You got to meet the people who wrote the standards, who influenced the technology, and more importantly, they listened to you when you had stupid questions, opinions, whatever it was, everybody had a voice. And nothing was really stupid. Well, some things were probably weird, but... And you got to get engaged in this. And through various sets of events, I became working group co-chair of my first IETF working group, Multi-6. Now, there is a story that no one wanted that job. And I think that's true, actually, by the way. So the two people they picked was Sean Doran and me. And some of you might know Sean. Sean was never afraid of taking on a challenge and have opinions. And this was the working group to discover how could we do multi-homing routing more efficiently in IPv6 and for the future. And I'd like to say that that working group should probably still be open because no one ever solved that problem. I'm not even sure the problem was solvable, but that's a different story. And in the end, I ended up doing a few other working groups. And eventually, I got selected to the Internet Architecture Board, and I did 2 terms there together with Danny, who's at the back, and maybe someone else in here, I can't remember. And we did this, and that was also a fascinating story, because being on the IIB was a very, very different level. It was much more a higher architectural level, and the discussions were very different than what you do in a working group level. And you learn to, we spent at that time a lot of time discussing the relationship with IAQ and the standards, etc., which was not really technology anymore, but we started understanding, and it gave me a very good understanding of how some technical decisions also depend on political support or the framework you make these decisions in, right? And that was a very good learning experience and a very good growth curve, right? And I think that some observations so far was that I was phenomenally lucky that I got to work with those early pioneers that had no prestige in what they were doing or helping out this young guy from these unheard of islands in the middle of nowhere, right? And part of this was the time this happened in, right? The start of the dot-com era, where everybody had fun, experimented, and built things. And to some extent, I don't think that will come back, that time period, because it's a much more mature environment we operate in now. It's a much more mature market. The technology is mature. We don't have to figure out very basic things as we did. And some of this was just pure lucky coincidence. I was in the right time, at the right place at the right time. I met the right people. And I think that, but I think one learning point is this, is that, and that's still true to this day, is what I said about the community. If you are interested in technology, if you are interested in this, you can engage, ask questions. This community is really open to help people grow and develop and learn, because that's where we came from. And we really need to care for them. And don't be afraid to have opinions. People will tell you when you're wrong. They tell you you're wrong when you're right? I mean, this is a very opinionated group, right? And that's a good thing. People care. Sometimes it might be a little bit heated, but that's okay. We will all be friends afterwards, mostly at least. And this is what I think is also, I mean, to me, who came out with the software side and who was a developer, who discovered network technology, I thought networking was much cooler than software, right? And we all agree, that's why we're here, right? There's nothing cool about writing software and bloody apps, right? Who cares? Just frameworks. AI write that better than I do anyway. But AI won't replace us in building networks. AI so far won't screw routers into racks, right? Much, anyway. And I think, I'm slightly joking about this, but I do think, I mean, that was my choice. I thought this was much more fun because you built something that actually delivered fundamental infrastructure. But just to explain a little bit about the difference back then and today. So I went to the Wayback Machine and picked 2 random dates in 2001 and went to the Financial Times homepage. And on both of these random days, technology or internet was on the front page. Now, that's not today, right? If I go to the FT today, I don't think I'll find internet on the front page. Back then we did. It was a phenomenal emphasis and interest in internet technology, internet companies. And this also helped us, right? You could build things that were crazy and do this, because anything that had the word internet name in it got funded and supported. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. But at least we learned a lot, and we developed a lot of the infrastructure that we have around today. So over the years, I was engaged in some of these various NOGs. I became a right working group chair. I was the IETF working group chairs. I created NordNOG in the Nordics. We had what's called SOF, in Swedish Operator Forum in Sweden. I had been part of something called the IASA transition team that created the current IETF structure. That was more about the financials and admin structures of the IETF. And I thought this was really good fun. I had made a lot of friends, and I thought this was a really important community. And then one day I get this email. I got an email originally by someone called Bill Woodcock, who introduced me to this very young guy called Gaurav. And this is actually the email. Gaurav sent to me after the introduction saying that he is thinking of creating something called SANOG, and would I like to come and talk and also explain to him, Bill has said, I created Nordnog, how do you create a NOG and make it successful? That's the actual email. I hope there's nothing private in there, but I don't think so, because I just copied it. And I hadn't really thought much about the fact that I had experience that might help others or could help others in doing this. Although I had a lot of experience by this time, this was in 2002, it's October 2002. And I knew a lot of people, I had done a few things I thought was interesting. So this email from Gaurav made me think that maybe I could help others, maybe I could share some of my experience, maybe I do have something that's worth other people learning from, and I can give something back to this. There was that, and then there was, of course, the chance of going to Nepal. You know, I'm not going to deny that. That was also a little bit interesting, right? And that's another phenomenal thing about this, that this is a very global community, right? You do get to make friends from all over the world. So off I went, January 2003. A bunch of us showed up in Kathmandu. That is me on the left. There's a few other people. That's me, Gaurav and me on the panel, and that's me talking about operational stability on the internet. I have no idea what I talked about, but anyway, but that's clearly what I talked about. It was a phenomenal trip, and I made a lot more new friends from and some of you are here today from that very first meeting in Kathmandu. And it really showed that, you know, even in that environment, you could create something very, very useful. Like SANOG became this rather successful operator group that really brought a lot of, I would say, skills, knowledge, experiences into a set of countries that maybe hadn't had so much of this before. Right? And it was really phenomenal. It brought a group of people together that hadn't been brought together before. We continued with many more SANOGs. This is SANOG, me and Philip decided this is SANOG 4 in Bhutan. There is Philip doing a training class on routing with me. I think it was BGP, I guess. I don't know what the other picture is. There's some other class of something. I actually can't see who's actually on the picture even. It's Gaurav. Gaurav is teaching something. I don't know what it is. But again, we kept doing this, and I kept going around on this with SANOG and with Philip doing these trainings, and got to know a lot of the people here in Asia and the Asian community, which I think is fantastic, right? And it's also why I think I have this special fondness of this community, because I was very much part of this and saw this being created. And as I said, I've been very privileged to go and share my experiences with a lot of you and with a lot of the communities. Together with Philip, I've done routing classes all around the world, pretty much. I wrote some of the locations we've done this, and I realized I left out quite a few of them. I've done it twice here in KL, once in Kuala Lumpur, one here in Petaling and in many more. We've been to Edinburgh to do this, which I think Philip was most excited about. And I had a privilege to bring my experiences and to go and talk with network operators, regulators, students, and really share why I think this is important and what has made this community unique, and try to bring that across and one, to share the passion I have about this and what created this, and secondly, why am I passionate? Well, because of what we have created. When I applied for the ICANN job, the interviewing panel asked me, and actually the staff asked me the same question on my first day, why did you apply for this? And I have a very simple answer, is that my entire career, through all of these slides and what we've seen here, and even when I worked for a commercial operator in the .com era, one thing I think the internet has done is that it's been a phenomenal platform for driving change. Change in society, change in business models, change in technology, in a way that very few other phenomena has done, right? And preserving this platform, preserving what the internet stands for, the openness, so that anyone sitting in a student room can create Facebook on that platform, that is a phenomenally powerful thing. And ICANN is one of the institutions that are very integral to defend this and to provide this, and leading that I thought was a really fantastic opportunity, which is why I applied for the job. So, and I still believe that this is one of the very important things that this is delivering, right? One of the other things that it was to convey a bit of this passion was I wrote a slide deck that I've done many times about the history of peering in Europe. And I wrote this because I think that Europe was very early in creating peering, and actually peering is a very technical term for what was actually a relationship-building exercise among the operators in Europe, in a way that later has played out in other regions. And I think other regions will see a lot of what happened in Europe happen in their countries, and we're seeing this happening here, we're seeing it in Africa, and it's following the same trajectory. One of the most rewarding things I think is coming to events like this and have people coming up to me saying, I went to one of your Philip's classes, and this is what I do there today. It's really, really quite extra. I mean, Philip has many more of these stories than I do, but it's a very extraordinary thing to do, right? 2013, me and Philip went to Ulaanbaatar. We actually been there twice, so this must be the second time we went, I think. Yes. And talked about IXPs and met with the regulator, the ministry, and so on. And again, tried to convey exactly that message, you know, that you will go and you have a chance to go on the same trajectory as the rest of the world and create the same platform. So I talked about this already. I said the internet is a truly phenomenal thing. This transformational change is really what I care about. And this is why I think that starting out in networking can be a career path for you, and it should be a career path for you. It's a phenomenal thing. Most of you probably are on this career path. You're not the students of this, but this is something I think that you should bring with you in your engagement with others and explain why this is so exciting. So at ICANN, we do some of this training. We have, just want to also say a little bit what my day job does, not just all about me. APNIC, ICANN provides in Asia Pacific, I was going to say, a lot of training and support. And we have since 2014, we have done a phenomenal amount of trainings, 165 training events, 40 countries, and about 5,000 people have been trained in this rather wide range of stakeholder groups or communities. The topics and courses that I can provide training on is quite wide-ranging. There are DNS, various aspects of DNS that to be expected, but we also do this on security, universal acceptance or IDNs, and many, many more around this. Something that we also feel about ICANN is to help and do capacity building and provide development and education on this. We support the NOGs in Asia-Pac. We sponsor apricots. We also have an agreement with APNIC to support some of the NOGs in the region. And we really work together with the community, with the local engagement office we have in Singapore, who is very engaged with the Asia-Pac community to build this further and to do the train-the-trainer exercises as well. We also do something called the Asia Pacific Internet Governance Academy, together with KISA, the Korean Internet Security Agency, where we bring together, it's a 5-day capacity event, where we bring together students, or youth, I should say, in the age 18 to 35, where we learn about internet governance aspects as well, not just technology. The next one is expected to be in July and August. These are immense learning, so it's basically immersive learning, sorry, might be intense also, but, and it's very hands-on, and they simulate an IGF. It's very learned to see how this engagement works in real time. And it's 2 to 3 day events. The upcoming are in April and May, and in these 3 locations. And then we also do ICANN meetings 3 times a year. The ICANN 84 in October, which is our general meeting, will be in Muscat in Oman. And we also support attendance there, so we have this application period will open on 31st of March, where we support students that are interested in learning more about this to attend. So you can apply, or students can apply to get the funding for that to attend to this as well. And last, I just want to mention that starting on, this week, as today, is the prep week for the next ICANN meeting, which is the following week, ICANN 82, where you can participate both online and in person. I know some of you are participating in person, but you can also participate online in this, and the prep week, as I said, start this week. Fortunately, it will be at night time in local time here, but the first event, by the way, I should maybe plug this, the first event is tonight at 11 or 12, I forgot the time now. 11, okay, good. At 11 o'clock tonight, And that includes a presentation on ICP2, which might interest some in this community, which is from the ICANN consultation on ICP2 as opposed to the RER consultation. So there was two tracks running parallel. And if you're interested in that, that's tonight at 11. And with that, I am done with 2.5 minutes to spare. I think that's the first. So thank you very much, and thank you, Philip, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Curtis. And as Curtis mentioned, he's got some preparation to do for a conference, and I know what that's all about. So he heads off pretty much at lunchtime. So if you want to have a quick chat with Curtis, you need to be quick. But thank you for fitting us into your schedule. Yes, I booked you a long time ago, but you missed out the things that I want you here as Curtis, not as the ICANN CEO. But you know, you're fine to have you as ICANN CEO as well. But thank you so much, I appreciate it. Next up, we have Alexis Bertholf, who is Technical Evangelist at Megaport, who's going to deliver her keynote about making network engineering cool again. Alexis, please. Thank you.
Ooh. Hello, how are we doing this morning? Good? So this is actually my second time ever giving a presentation in person, ever. So I'm a little bit nervous. I tell you, I was talking to Philip last night at dinner, and he said, Alexis, it's just like a 20-minute TikTok. You'll be okay. So anyways, I'm talking about one of my favorite things, which is making network engineering cool again. And I promise that this session will be what you guys remember when you walk away today. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Alexis Bertholf. As Philip mentioned, I'm a technical evangelist at Megaport. You also might know me as my username DigitalByte on social media. And I've spent about the last 2 years creating a lot of short-form content about network engineering and IT across platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. Along the way, I've built a community of about 200,000 people. I've been invited to conferences like this one, and I've collaborated with amazing companies. But through all of this, there's a few things that became very apparent to me. Number one, people have literally no idea what we do. Even though we live and breathe the internet every single day, connectivity has, for the rest of the world, kind of become a utility. You just assume it's always going to be there. Number two, we're facing a huge talent gap. Every company I've ever worked with has struggled to backfill talent on their team. Engineers are leaving our field faster than they're coming in. And with how reliant our world today is on technology, that's terrifying. And number three, at some point, networking became uncool. I don't know when it happened, but tech careers are hot. I don't know if you guys have heard, but everyone wants to go into tech or break into tech. But what tech do they want to go into? Cloud, data science, AI. You know, I could throw a rock and hit someone on the internet talking about one of those careers, but networking, there's like maybe 5 of us. And it's wild because when you think about it, networking is literally what makes the internet possible. What's a data center? What's a data center without the network? You know, it might as well be an island. You can have all of that compute, all of that storage, all of that power, and it's useless unless you can connect to it. You know, I was on my way here. I'm from the US. I had about 30 hours of travel time, and I bought the Wi-Fi, because what else are you going to do on like a 14-hour flight? And I got so frustrated. I'm sitting there refreshing and refreshing and refreshing, and nothing's loading. And I almost had to level set with myself, like, Alexis, you're in a tin can, 36,000 feet in the air, flying over the middle of the ocean, and you're mad because you can't connect to the Wi-Fi. But that's exactly where we are today as a society. I mean, think about it. We've gotten so used to being able to get what we want, when we want, from wherever we are, whether that happens to be a shopping mall, a coffee shop, driving down the side of the highway, or even on an airplane. Now, personally, I was born in 1997, not to date myself or anything. But I still remember saving pictures to a floppy disk in computer class, waiting for dial-up to connect so I could instant message my friends after school. And by the time I graduated high school in 2015, the internet was widely considered to be the new normal. No one was going to the library to find books for their research papers. No one was using paper maps to find their way around town. And no one was questioning how any of it worked. I mean, think about how far we've come since the internet started. Does anyone know what this number is? I bet Curtis does. 4,294,967,296. It's the total number of possible public IPv4 addresses. We need to start moving to IPv6 because we literally don't have address space left. Now, whether we actually do it or not, we've got smartphones, smartwatches, smart fridges, smart thermostats. Yesterday my sister texted me. She said, I got a new smart shower head to track how much water I'm using. And then she sent me a screenshot of the app, because of course it's 2025, your shower head has an app. Right now they're estimating that we will have 75 billion connected devices by the end of 2025, and they all need to talk somehow. So no, even with AI, networking is never going to go away. With how dependent our world is on technology, network infrastructure is critical infrastructure. During COVID-19, when everyone got sent to work from home, network engineers were considered critical workers because guess what? Someone had to maintain the network so everyone else could keep working. High-frequency trading, air traffic control systems, shopping malls, cruise ships, rockets, satellites, mining companies, governments, banks, grocery stores, every single business out there needs a network. Now, quick show of hands, how many of you have been in IT for more than 15 years? Take a look around the room. If you're at 14 years, you can round up, that's okay, guys. I've talked to a lot of y'all, and from what you told me, back in the early 2000s, as Kurt mentioned, building out the internet was the coolest thing you could possibly do. And back then, everyone was just excited to get online, sending emails, reading blogs, instant messages, even if you had to wait a couple minutes for a web page to load or for dial-up to connect. The problem is that you guys did such a good job building out that internet and making those connections, is that today, everyone else takes it for granted. Even leadership at the highest levels of our businesses think the internet still works like magic. I mean, how many of you guys have been told something like this? Hey, so we're standing up a new site. Real estate's been working on it for 6 months, and we planned it to open up next week. So you can get connectivity in there, right? Meanwhile, the switches have a 3-month lead time. The circuits are going to take 6 months to install. But that site's going to come up next week, right? This is another true story. I was working with the CIO of a company, and they were so cloud first that when they built their new building and they built their new floor plans, they didn't put wiring closets anywhere. And when their networking team went to their leadership and said, hey, where are we going to put the network gear? The CIO said, well, why do we need a wiring closet? We're a cloud-first company. The CIO thought that because they were cloud-first, they didn't need networking gear. So, no, connectivity has largely become a utility. I don't wonder what happens when I turn on the lights. I just turn them on and they work. And the same thing happens with the Wi-Fi. In fact, it's so important that back in 2016, the United Nations declared that having the ability to access the internet was a fundamental human right. And that was back in 2016, so it's been 10 years since then. And this new generation that's up and coming, these kids today, they don't know anything about the internet. I always like to use the example of the the 13-year-old kid with the iPad. Ask him how the internet works, and he goes, well, I click this button for the Wi-Fi, and I go to YouTube. And that's it. There's nothing else behind it. It's just the Wi-Fi and YouTube. And to take it a step further, I was rehearsing this presentation with one of my old colleagues, and he said, Alexis, I actually have kids. My 7-year-old, he doesn't know he's connected to anything. We get in the car and drive away, and his iPad stops working, and he goes, Daddy, fix it. YouTube's broken. Now, being connected isn't exciting anymore. It's expected. And as network engineers, we're expected to make the network work 100% of the time. And for the most part, we do a really good job of it. But if we make the network invisible, which we're supposed to do, how is this kid going to know that he wants to study it in college? Every single company I've ever worked with has struggled to backfill talent on their team when an engineer leaves or retires. And for some of you in the room, that might be closer than we think. And you might be thinking, well, you know, Alexis, I did my time, right? I built the internet, been in the industry 20 years, got a couple more years in me, and then you know where I want to go? The woods, where there's no Wi-Fi, and there's no cell signal, and no one can reach me to tell me that something's broken or I need to come in on the weekends. You know, that's just not my problem anymore. But the magic that makes the internet work, well, you know, and I know, that it's not going to continue that way if there's not people here in this room to continue to learn and evolve the infrastructure that you built the way that it needs to evolve, to support technologies like cloud and AI and self-driving cars and brain chips and whatever else we decide to throw at it. And that's terrifying. This isn't just about losing technical skills or knowledge transfer, but when you guys leave the industry, we're also going to be losing decades of problem-solving approaches that you only get from building and maintaining these networks for years and years and years. And you're never going to replace that with books or certification courses or even with AI. One story I'd like to share with you guys. So this is Elliot. I met Elliot at Cisco Live last year. And I was presenting on a session about personal branding and using LinkedIn for career growth. And he came over to me afterwards and he said, hey, Alexis, came to your session this morning. You had a lot of really good ideas about LinkedIn and career growth and getting into your next job. And that's great and all, but I don't need that. I've got 5 more years and I'm going to retire. I'm getting towards the end of my career and I just want to make sure that I'm able to help young people learn all of the same stuff that I learned, because I don't want my knowledge to die with me. This is about passing down your legacy. We need to make network engineering cool again so the next generation can take the reins and make it even better than you guys did, to make sure it can support technologies that we don't even know exist yet. So how do we do that? How do we talk to young people about why this is one of the best careers for them to choose? Well, we can start with the obvious one, and all of my animations broke, so I'm sorry. But number one, nothing works without the network, right? Networking is the foundation for every other technology. Knowing networking, whether or not you decide to stay in it your whole career, will make you a better developer, a better cloud engineer, a better cybersecurity researcher, because in this day and age, there's nothing that works without the network, and learning it now will give you a huge leg up later down the line. You can work in any industry. So as we mentioned earlier, there's literally not a single business that can operate in today's day and age without the network. So you have tons of options. You can pursue your interests outside of work, whether that's sports and entertainment, healthcare, finance, oil and gas. If you get bored, you can always migrate because you have a transferable skill. There's always something new to learn. Like at this conference, companies will send you to conferences, pay for certifications, and invest in your learning and skill development because they recognize how crucial it is to their business. And last but not least, what makes networking a little bit different than any other tech industry is that it's extremely collaborative. The internet only works because we all work together. So even if you're taking two competing companies, there's a good chance that their network engineers are in a group chat somewhere. But say we start talking about what we do, we bring more awareness, we make network engineering visible, everyone recognizes that it exists. There's still a big disconnect happening somewhere because these are my DMs. Every single day I get messages on social media from people who want to break into networking. These are just from the past 2 weeks, I think. I get probably, 15 to 25 a week. I want to get into networking, where do I start? Hey, Alexis, I heard you need to take a certification. Which one should I take? Hey, Alexis, I took all of my certifications, but I still can't get a job. What should I do? And do you know what we tell them? We say, hey, go build a home lab. Okay, well, now I've got my router and my 2 switches. Now they're supposed to go manage this enterprise environment with 50 sites and 50,000 users, and 100 buildings that's cloud first, right? And do you know what else is really surprising? I'll switch the slide. You know what else is really surprising? I get a lot of DMs from computer science kids. They say, hey, Alexis, what's that box with wires? I'm studying computer science, but that looks cool. I hate coding. I'm like, hey, man, I don't like coding either. It's the reason I'm in networking, right? But you guys don't want to learn Python or automation, so let's go recruit this kid that knows the fundamentals and thinks the box with wires looks cool. It's a great idea. Anyways, I heard someone recently refer to tech jobs as white-collar trades. And if you think about it, it starts to make a lot of sense. Whether you're talking about computer science, data analytics, or network engineering, and you compare it to working as an electrician, a mechanic, or a carpenter, if you hired someone to do work on your house, and they showed up and said, hey, I have this piece of paper that says I can do carpentry. Let me fix your drywall. You'd be like, no, get out of here. Absolutely not. You're not touching my house. You're not touching my car. Go get some experience. But in technology, we put this huge emphasis on degrees and certifications, whether that's CCNA, CCNP, CCIE, 12X, AWS certified. Every vendor has a certification now. And you can find people who have the whole alphabet after their last name and no hands-on skills because they never had the chance to work in industry. So you get stuck in this loop acquiring certifications because you think it'll help you get experience when in reality you're just learning how to take a test. So I really think the trades got it right. They do these things called apprenticeships where maybe you go to class, you get the piece of paper, and then you go work under a master electrician or plumber or mechanic for a couple years before you're considered able to go and do the work on your own. And network engineering, to me, is a skilled trade. Being a developer is a skilled trade. And in America, internships are very common, little 3-month stints where you'll go and work in between school. But 3 months doesn't substitute working under someone for a long period of time. So what do we do about it? Well, number one, it starts with all of us today in this room having this conversation and recognizing that this problem exists. But number two, being willing to bring young people in, all of those people in my DMs, being willing to reach out and mentor someone if you're in a position where you're in a leadership role and you can bring on or start an internship program or an apprenticeship program or even a job shadowing program, taking a chance on a younger engineer and making sure that they have the support and the system that they need to grow. Looking ahead at your organization over the next 5 to 10 years. Who on your team is about to retire? Making sure that you have a plan in place to address them leaving when they finally leave. Start talking about your work. When someone asks what you do, don't just say that you work in tech and then change the subject. When we talk about AI infrastructure, when we talk about cloud, when we talk about cybersecurity, don't let people forget what's behind all of it, which is the network. Share your stories, whether that's through creating content online, posting on LinkedIn, mentoring younger engineers, or even presenting at your kid's high school, because we need to make networking visible again. And lastly, present IT as a business enabler. Don't let that CIO forget that he needs networking closets. In today's world, IT impacts every corner of every business, employee experience, and customer experience. Think about things like smart buildings, digital signage, IoT, infrastructure for supporting remote work, which is so popular today. Make sure that you are trying to get involved in the business conversations as soon as possible to be seen as an early partner in the design. And lastly, make sure you're taking care of your people network too. You're here at Apricot because you want to gain new skills or knowledge, but honest to God, one of the greatest resources you'll ever have is everyone sitting in this room today. So make sure you're also growing your people network this week. My favorite conference tip I could ever possibly give is to never eat alone. If you're here and maybe you're not with colleagues or it's your first time, it's a perfect opportunity when you're eating lunch or breakfast to grab an empty chair at a table and strike up a conversation with someone. You'll know because they're going to be wearing that green lanyard. Number 2 is establish peers. So everyone, especially if you're a younger person, everyone always wants to have a mentor. But it's just as helpful to have peers in your network who are maybe 1 to 2 steps ahead of you that you can grow with. And I know that cell phones are extremely distracting, but try to be as present as possible. Don't be answering emails during sessions or texting during breaks, unless it's a critical outage, of course. But your email can probably wait. And lastly, don't just build your network today. You also have to maintain it. Just like a normal network, you can't just stand it up and forget about it. Make sure you're checking in. Try to be of service. Congratulate people when they make milestones in their career. And make sure you're maintaining the connections that you made this week. So remember what I promised at the start, that this session would be what you remember when today is over? Well, here it is. Ultimately, you are going to be the ones who are making networking cool again. Not just by building networks, but by showing the world why they matter. Because the internet only works if we're all working together. And that includes bringing in the next generation of engineers who will carry your work forward. The future of our industry largely depends on what we do today and the conversations that are happening here at Apricot. We need to make networking visible again, inspire the next generation, and make sure that the knowledge and passion that we built the internet with gets carried on. We did it once before. We made the internet the coolest thing in technology. And now it's time to do it again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexis, for your wonderful keynote. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to invite Curtis back on the stage. We have a small speaker gift for both of you. So I've
Is it a
brought.
poster?
It's a very special poster. So this is a piece of Aboriginal artwork from Northern Territory in Australia. So it's got the whole story about it, written by the artist in the back. So
Thank you.
I think two of you can decide which one you like. You can have a look at it later and see which one you prefer.
Thank you so much.
So let's just have a photo opportunity here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you very much to both our keynotes. Now I have to find my list and see where we were. All right. So this is bringing us close to the end of the opening plenary. What we're going to do now is have a look at want to thank the sponsors. This event, or any of these events, Apricot, is not possible without the sponsorship that we have. The sponsors pay for, the venue that we're in, a lot of infrastructure and so forth. So I want to take this opportunity to show appreciation to all the sponsors. We've been working with them and the community for probably, since September, trying to get, to get the sponsorships all in place. I'm not going to try and list them out. I tried to do this in Bangkok last year, and I think my eyesight gave up on me. But want to highlight, so of course APNIC is the organizer of Apricot, as we have been for many years. APNIC co-organizes the event with us. As I said at the start, this is a very unique event in that we work very, very closely with the regional registry, and so APNIC holds its meeting alongside the technical operational part of the event. So yet again, really huge appreciation to APNIC for the support and actually being part of this event. Our host is Minogue. Again, not possible without the support of the local internet community, so thank you to the whole Malaysian internet community for assisting. VeriSign is our diamond sponsor, have returned again, been a long-term sponsor for Apricot. We really appreciate that. Laris is very generously sponsoring our social event this evening. We appreciate that support as well, and we hope that all the delegates who have tickets will be able to enjoy the social in KL City Centre this evening. Flex Optics have returned to sponsor the lanyards. We have a very distinctive lanyard with the Flex Optics orange and of course the apricot color. So thank you to the Flex Optics team for your support yet again. I want to shout out AWS and MyIX as our platinum sponsors. We have championship coffee yet again. So this is the Malaysian Barista Champion. I don't remember which year, I think last year, is serving coffee for us. Thank you very much to Netflix for, I don't know how many years Netflix has sponsored our coffee cart, a long time. So we really appreciate that, and we hope that you're enjoying the championship coffee, as did last year in Bangkok as well. So for next year, we've got to try and work out, who our championship coffee is going to be. But thank you, Netflix. The Peering Forum and Peering Social sponsors DCakes and Equinix. So we have the Peering Forum tomorrow afternoon and the social in the evening. So thank you to both for your sponsorship. Time is the official network provider here. So they're providing the bandwidth, the gigabit of bandwidth into the building for the conference. So for those of you here, you can use the hotel Wi-Fi if you're a guest, or if you're not a guest here, you can use the Apricot Wi-Fi. Maz is leading the team that's looking after the network infrastructure, and so Maz and the team have been working with Time and our Wi-Fi sponsor for the infrastructure. Running through the gold sponsors, AIMS, AMSIX, BBIX, Benog, Cisco, Digital Edge, HK Colo, Hilco, Internet Society Foundation, JPIX, Kentic, Kinks, Network Startup Resource Center, OpenDC, Plurium, Seco, SGGS, SynchroWeb, and Team Cymru. All our gold sponsors. All our gold sponsors have a booth outside. Please go and visit their booths. They've made a lot of effort to set up and show their services, the business, whatever, as have our higher tier sponsors as well. So please visit their booths. If it gets a bit congested outside, which it inevitably will, I'm sure you can come back later. They're well prepared and would love to meet you all. So please go and visit all the sponsors. Thank you for supporting this event, because it really is not possible without the sponsors that I've mentioned so far with their generosity for here. The fellowship program, we have a very strong fellowship program at Apricot. It's been running for many, many years, bringing network engineers, network operators to come and meet the industry experts, mostly for technical training. Quite a few of the fellows left this morning. They were here for the technical training last week. Other fellows joined us on Saturday. They took part in a skills workshop yesterday, which is all about presentation and so on skills. Sponsored by APNIC, who will be our host for Apricot next year. ICANN have sponsored the fellowship program for a long time also, as well as the Internet Society. So, as Curtis mentioned in his keynote, a lot of these organizations are very, very supportive across the Asia-Pacific region. This year, a Women in Tech lunch tomorrow is sponsored by Akamai and the Internet Association of Australia. Thank you very much for that as well. And then we run through the silver sponsors, Arista, BizNet, .Asia, Google, HKX, Microsoft, and SGIX. The APNIC AGM on Thursday is sponsored by CNNIC, JPNIC, and TWNIC. And I'm starting to struggle. The bronze sponsors, I should have taken my driving glasses. The bronze sponsors, Guam Exchange, HGC Global, IIJ, IT&E, also from Guam, and Sunny Vision. Apologies, Sunny Vision. It's a bit far trying to read. Local support from ASA, and find the screen. And of course, as I mentioned at the start, the support by the Malaysian Convention and Exhibition Bureau. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Okay, fine. I saw applause starting, so I paused for that. All right, so that really brings us, we've finished a little bit early, which is good. Brings us up to lunch. Now, because we have a large number of delegates, some of you got lunch tickets over in the One World Hotel. It's a 5-minute walk. You just walk across the bridge. Don't go into the metro station, walk past it. And then at the end of the bridge, you pretty much turn left, well, after walking past a few shops, turn left into the One World Hotel, and you have to go downstairs to the lower level, because you come in at the first level. Others of you will have the lunch tickets here, and that's in the restaurant, the Indulge Coffee House of the M World. Right, so if it gets really crowded, maybe you could wait a bit, have some nice coffee first, and then come for lunch a little bit later. The afternoon sessions start again at 2:30 p.m. It's a little bit different. We have a 2-hour afternoon session, so make sure you have enough coffee or food to survive all that. We break earlier than we normally do because we start leaving at 5 p.m. for the opening social. So buses will start leaving at 5 p.m. So between 5 and 6 p.m. they'll leave to go to the opening social venue. So that's why we have a single session this afternoon. And otherwise, that's all I have to say. 2:30 p.m. we resume. Enjoy your lunch and see you this afternoon. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Curtis.